friends, let's talk about Grey Knights. Big metal marines are a good opportunity to move along on our journey to mastering metallics, and they don't come much bigger than the monster-mashing mecha that is the Grey Knights Dreadknight. As always with our wargaming minis, our job is threefold. Make the mini pop on the table, sell the scale, and get this bad boy looking gorgeous in a reasonable time frame. I've railed against pure black shadows on a few occasions now, but luckily for us, rules are for science and maths, and this is art, my friends. So, on goes the black primer, and on quite a few surfaces, this will be our final colour. You're probably sick of hearing airbrush owners tell you that you can do all of the things they can with a regular brush, but this next one really is true. I have dark gunmetal in the airbrush and I'm applying it over almost all of the figure, only leaving my really deep shadows in pure black. This would look absolutely great dry brushed as well. The extra texture from the dry brushing reads as micro scratches and metallic textures, so don't worry one bit if you are an airbrushless person at this moment. With coat 1 down, I layer up with a lighter Duraluminium at a more severe zenithal angle, and then a super bright silver just on the highest highlights, so our top up-facing surfaces here. This whole process would be exactly the same with a dry brush as well. Just because you're painting metallics doesn't mean you get to ignore your volume shading. Remember, we're trying to sell scale here. As always, one of the biggest things we can do to make this guy look like a big thing at a smaller scale, as opposed to a little toy at our scale, is to push the global lighting on him. And here is another step in that effort. With some Prussian blue ink in the airbrush, I go around adding cool shadows here and there, always aiming to reinforce that top-down, slightly angled direction of light. With airbrushing inks, the go-to rule is more air, less paint. So work with a high PSI, around 35 or 2.5 bar, and be super gentle with your trigger. And of course, glazing in thinned inks with a brush would work just as well. Next up, let's tackle that enormous sword. I'm not trying to break any molds or prove any points with this knight, so we're after a pretty traditional blue glow power weapon look here. A little cling film, or saran wrap if you want to call it that, is a simple way to mask the work already done. Sure, you could probably do this unprotected, but why take the risk? I want big contrast here, so I'm leaving areas of pure black and using the sculpted shape of the sword and some considered angles to work in counterbalanced highlight areas. After the white, I load up some Prussian blue ink and cover all of the dark areas and the start of the white gradient. Even over pure black, the transparent ink will have an effect. When the blue is down, I grab some deep turquoise and just go over those boundary areas a bit in the gradients, making sure to retain a bit of pure white in the center. With less than 10 minutes work, we have most of a pretty good looking sword all done. Alright, let's get some more colour on this guy. I've grabbed my Molotow Burgundy here because I want something that is going to cover fast and work as a good base tone for my reds. That said, this is far from a necessity or even a recommendation really. If you have a dark red that covers, just use that. All the reds get blocked in as well as a first pass on the white. Here I would say don't do as I did. I was wondering if the covering magic of Molotow paints extended to their whites as well, and well, the answer is no. Masking and airbrushing is probably the most effective way, or just go old school and layer up from a well-covering grey. Okay, last iconic colour block for the Grey Knights is the gold wordy bits they like to carve into everything. I reckon a richer, warm colour will stand out nicely against this cool silver though, so I base them in copper and then fill in the recesses with this rich brown ink. If anyone knows whether or not Vallejo's so-called skin wash ink is a rebottled generic pigment, I'd love to know. This stuff is a must-have for leather and metallics in my books. Alright, coming along. We've got to that inevitable point though of a paint job that lifts the piece from battle ready to cool mini, but doesn't make for interesting viewing or commentary. There are a few bits of black to fill in here and there, the red highlights on the red bits, and not caught on camera unfortunately, the cool demon battle relief on the little shield there. I used contrast and speed paints to stain the metallics on the flamer weapon, retaining more of the metallic sheen and giving a subtly different effect to the other red areas. Oh, and I finally went in and fixed that obscene seam on his shoulders. It's never too late to fix your misses. Scrolls and books got some khaki and off-white, and the coppery bits got a true gold highlight. That flamer needs a little bit more TLC to make it pop though, so let's give it a nice hazard stripe cable and some lovely heat damage too, using that brown ink from before, followed up with purple, and finally some turquoise blue. Two more tricks up my sleeve for this one. Firstly, to get a bit more definition on this chap, let's do a straight up black oil wash on the internal mechanical bits of the walker. This will help get the armor plates to really stand out and give us some more variety on this cool but pretty monotonous scheme. I'm not using oils here only to wash, but also to stain things and make these metal bits a little bit darker than the rest. The boundary between glaze, wash, and filter is very blurry and more defined by technique than paint or paint consistency. And then the real secret weapon of fiddly text, a Pigma Micron 003 pen. I've stuck a link for reference below. If you do any scrolls, books, inscriptions or seals, this is a present you must get yourself. Of course, some ink and a brush and a steady hand will yield fantastic results, but if you want to save yourself an aneurysm when army painting, do yourself a favor and pick up these amazingly precise Japanese wonders. And that's your lot. Cool steel, but properly shaded, nice and poppy accent colors, and a few feature details. If you like these tutorials, help others find them by giving the like and sub button a click, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and check out the description for all the main paints I used and a link to our Discord server. Cheers guys, see you next time.